What is the date today? It's November 1st,
Right.
2023.
Yes.
I'm with Con Sullivan in Coon Rapids.
Yeah.
Beautiful Coon Rapids.
Yeah. It's not too bad.
So where was the town that you were born in?
Kenmare,
Kenmare.
County Kerry.
Kenmare, County Kerry.
Yeah.
And how many kids in your family when you were?
I'm the second oldest of 12.
Second oldest, 12.
The boy next to me died when he was a baby.
Okay.
Nobody, of course, ever said why or what happened to him. But I remember him when he was living. I remember when he was sick, and I remember the day he died. And the neighbors had made a little white box for him, and I was sitting in the kitchen on a chair.
Wow.
And
amazing.
I don't know where they buried him. They had never told us.
And he was the firstborn?
No.
No, he was
I'm the second.
you're the second. Okay.
Michael was the firstborn.
Michael was the firstborn.
Yeah.
And what was life like in Kenmare when you were a kid?
We very seldom got there. We were 8 miles out of Kenmare.
Yeah.
And the only way you got there was in the cart, horse and cart. So we didn't get to the town very often.
Yeah.
Well, and then when we were probably 7 or 8 years old, and we'd have to go maybe at the fair day when they took an animal to the fair. And they were up about a mile up the farm on the other side. That's my house.
Oh yeah.
There.
Wow.
Excuse me.
The fair was a mile up the road?
Well, we had two farms. We had the farm down here, and then we had the one up on the hill, which is back of this side. It's not that side, not this side. And they're all practically wild because they never saw anybody. And we used to send the dog up, and the dog would move them around so you could count them once a day.
And these are sheep?
No, we never hit sheep.
What are these cows?
No,
Cows.
dry cattle, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So so your family had the two different pieces of land?
Yeah.
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 And were they like in the Sullivan family for a long time?
Yeah. My great grandfather or something, I don't know.
Did you have a lot of chores when you were a kid?
We had, that's all we did,
Yeah.
was chores. Slave labor. I think we was milking cows when we were like 6 years old.
Yeah.
And then before you went to school, then you had to take the geese with you, so we'd get them away from the house and down by the stream before on your way to school.
Wow.
So, and,
How far away was the school?
I was straight across, probably a mile,
Yeah.
but you went through about 3 or 4 streams and people's yards and.
But no car at your house in those days.
No car.
Yeah.
No. We didn't even have a bicycle. There was a bicycle there, was from my mother's, but they were never. My dad had it hanging up in the garage, and we weren't allowed to ride it, and it didn't come down for a long time.
Was there any music or dancing around the neighborhood?
Not when we were young, you
Yeah.
know, but there should have been, because my dad's sisters all played the accordion,
Oh yeah.
but he never did, because he was a baby. I suppose he didn't have to do anything. He was the only son. There were like 10 sisters,
Yeah.
and he was a baby. So I always told him he was spoiled, but he didn't like that. But I think he was anyway. No, there wasn't too much music. My dad used to sing.
Yeah.
He would sing
Yeah.
at night time and stuff. He was, no radio, never had nothing
Yeah.
back then.
What kind of stuff did your dad sing? Do you remember at all?
A dance?
What did he sing? What did your dad sing?
Oh,
Who knows?
the songs.
Yeah. How about sports? Would you guys play any sports?
We played soccer and hurley and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
But most between ourselves, we had enough there for the team.
And then how did you end up coming across the ocean, or how old were you when that came about?
Yeah. I always wanted to come.
Yeah.
And I used to write to my Uncle Jeff's son and Otter once in a while. I would write to them, and I would write to Aunt Mary and stuff. I always wanted to come. Michael didn't want to come. He did, but he decided because I was coming, then he would too. So it took, I imagine, a couple of years to get everything set, to come over.
Right. And
she had to sponsor us, and I understood she had to put a bond or something up.
This is Aunt Mary.
On Mary, yeah. And she had to set a bond or something up.
Huh.
No, I was 18. Michael was 19.
Right. And Aunt Mary was here in the Twin Cities?
Aunt Mary was here. I think she was here before I was born.
What was her surname?
She was Mahoney.
She was a Mahoney.
Yeah.
Right, so same as Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She was Pat's dad's sister.
Right. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. And was she Minneapolis or St. Paul?
She's in Minneapolis.
Minneapolis.
2719 Park Avenue.
So Aunt Mary sponsored you, and then what happened next? Did you?
Well, we had to go to Cork to get I think you had to take a test and you had to have a physical and stuff, and then you had to get your passport and get your picture and all that stuff. It took about a year, I think, even after doing that.
Yeah.
Okay. But that was the first time I ever saw a color person.
In Cork?
In Cork.
Wow.
First time I ever saw it, because there was no TV then.
Sure.
You never saw him.
Wow.
I just watched him as he all there was across the street.
Wow. And what did your parents think about you and Mike leaving?
I think they were kind of happy for us.
Sure.
But sad about it.
Yeah. Did you know other people that were leaving?
Not at that time.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody. No.
Yeah.
I didn't know anybody.
But you knew this Aunt Mary, and you said you had an Uncle Jeff who was...
Uncle Jeff. I married. I had never seen. She had never. Well, she went to Ireland, but I think I wasn't born or whatever by then.
Mm-hmm.
But Uncle Jeffrey, I had seen, and he was back in like 1937.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And had he gone to Minnesota too?
Who?
Uncle Jeff?
Yeah, he was an attorney.
Oh, and he was here in Minnesota?
He was in Minnesota.
Oh, wow.
He lived in Highland Park, but
Okay.
his office was downtown, Minneapolis.
Was he a Mahoney too?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was
Mahoney.
my mom's brother.
Oh, okay.
So was Uncle Mike. Yeah.
So your mom was the Mahoney? Or...
Yeah.
Did she say Mahoney or Mahoney?
Mahoney. It was Mahoney always back there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Uncle Jeffrey is the one that changed it, I think.
Okay.
Here. And then after they changed it, then years later, they started pronouncing it Mahoney instead of Mahoney. But they were the ones that changed it to Mahoney in the first place.
Okay.
So.
So you went down to Cork, you filled out the papers or whatever, you passed the test, and then where did the ship leave from, or did you have to buy a ticket, or?
Yeah, I think Aunt Mary sent them.
Aunt Mary sent the ticket.
Money or the tickets. I don't remember
Sure.
what she did. And we had it went out of Cove.
Yeah.
In Cork.
Wow. And And I forget, you had the name, was it you had the name of the ship, or was it Mark Malone that had it? Do you remember the name of the ship? I think...
got it.
Yeah. I think Mark Malone told it to me too, because...
Yeah, I think I was the one that sent it around.
That was
in fact,
probably.
I found it somebody.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still got the picture of it.
What was that like, getting on the boat? Or
It was horrible.
Yeah.
It was a troop ship from World War II. And it was all bunks, hammocks.
Wow.
It was awful, boy.
Yeah.
Terrible thing.
Were people seasick?
I didn't. Michael got sick.
Yeah.
I didn't.
Yeah.
I felt like it happened up the fresh air
Yeah.
in the day.
Did you meet anybody that you kept in touch with when you were on that ship?
No.
So it was only later that you figured out that the Malone brothers were on the...
Oh yeah,
the same
probably 2 or 3 years later, because they were on Kerry. So.
Right. Where did it land when it came across?
New York.
New York.
Pulled in right next to the Queen Mary. Matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, excuse. And then, did you stay long in New York?
We stayed there not very long. Joan Shea met us there, and she took us to her apartment and gave us something to eat, and we took a quick nap, and she put us on the train for Minneapolis.
That was it?
That was it.
Wow. And then who was there to meet you when you got off the train in Minneapolis?
It was Uncle Mike and Aunt Alice and Aunt Mary.
Okay.
And she had muffs for us and hats. It was like 30 below.
What time of year was it? Oh, this is March, right?
It's March 10th, I think.
Wow. Uncle Mike, is that Pat's dad? No.
Yeah.
Wow.
So they met us.
And then did you move in with...
We went over to Aunt Mary that night. They took us to Aunt Mary's.
Yeah.
And we stayed overnight at Aunt Mary's. And of course, you get up in the morning, they were gone to work. Aunt Mary and Angela and Siboney, the room together. And I wasn't going to turn on a stove because we'd probably finish up in orbit. I didn't know a gas stove or anything. So Dick Mattany, which Uncle Jeff's son, he was my age. So he came and picked us up and took us to lunch. And then he bought us a suit of clothes, each of us, at Juster Brothers downtown.
Wow.
So then we were there. I think Aunt Mary started crying on the phone to Aunt Alice, and she didn't know what to do with us, So Uncle Mike picked us up and took us to get our passport. To get our Social Security number. We had to register for the draft, and I don't know what else we had to do. So
yeah,
had to look for a job.
Yeah. And then you ended up then moving in with Uncle Mike. It's Mike, right? Uncle Mike.
I was there for 6 years, I think.
Yeah.
I was there a long time. Michael moved out and he went to live in St. Paul with Tom Malone and John Mahoney and all those.
Okay, your brother moved over to St. Paul, but you stayed in. And so this is the house where Pat and her siblings were.
Yeah.
And she.
Yeah.
How many kids in that family?
Just Pat and Mary.
Just Pat and Mary.
Yeah. The Pat was like 16 and Mary was probably 14.
Yeah. And the job was at a bank, right? Where was this now?
Yeah, downtown. Yeah, but Aunt Mary wanted me to go work for the railroad because she worked for Great Northern Railroad.
Oh, wow.
She's saying, well, if you come in, you know, and I could get you in. You know, you start tomorrow, but you can be today. You get seniority one day ahead, and it's the thought of it.
The railroad didn't appeal to you.
No, she worked in the office. They were then downtown. They were upstairs from the tracks were downstairs.
Yeah.
So that's where she worked for many years.
Yeah.
So I said no.
Said no, and then was it Uncle Mike found you the job at the bank, or somebody somehow?
I don't know how we found it. We applied, I guess we were there, and he said, no way would he allow us to work in labor. So that was a no-no. So
that's what your uncle said.
Yeah. Well, he was 27 when he came, and he had a bad heart, and he was laying tracks, the railroad tracks, when he came here.
Wow.
So he didn't want
you guys to meet the same fate.
Yeah. So we both went to the bank, and we trained together in the main office downtown. Mm-hmm. And then I stayed downtown. They had a bank on Hennepin and 9th.
What was the name of the bank again?
It was Northwest.
Oh, yeah.
Then they changed to Northwest. Now
right.
it's Wells Fargo.
Right.
So, they had branches all over the place. And so Michael was at the 5th Northwest or something out in Lake Street. So he was out there. And take the bus to there every morning.
Yeah.
From the Stinson Boulevard and 23rd, yeah.
Yeah.
Half the bus.
And were you right away, and did you meet people at the Irish American Club right away too, or?
No, we were here a long time before we met anybody. Because Pat Curtin, the only reason they saw it was the paper. When we were in the newspaper. Oh,
when the picture of you guys with the cash register.
Yes. That's when it showed up. And Pat Curtin came over to visit me at the bank. So that's what started that.
That's how he found you guys.
Yeah.
And invited you to come to the club.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. And so then, do you remember then going to the club?
We didn't go. I don't think we went right away.
Or did you not go until after you'd done the service and everything?
No. Oh no, we were going for years before the service.
Yeah.
We didn't go in the service till 50. Well, Michael went in at 50.
Right.
I went in at 51.
And it was 48 that you came over?
Yeah.
Yeah, 48, yeah. In March. Yeah, so you were here a while before then.
Yeah.
So...
we went to school for a while at night school.
Oh.
In Minneapolis. Vocational.
Mm-hmm.
It was called vocational. It was called. I think it's where I remember what's down there now. I think they tore it down in the convention center or something.
Okay. Yeah.
I think.
But you would have gone to those dances when they or those events when they were.
They're probably in the.
Over on Pryor and University there.
Yeah.
One of the.
Yeah.
There was the Woodruff Hall and there was the Midway Club. They're both right there.
Yeah. So I went to school there for probably for a year or so.
To the school, the night school?
Night school.
Yeah.
Remember taking typing, which was awful. I finally got 30 words a minute, I think, to pass the thing. I took bookkeeping, which was okay, because I like figures. So. And I took business, English, and vocabulary. I remember.
Yeah.
Michael hated it. I didn't mind. It was fine. And American Institute of Banking. I took that to AIB. So,
Yeah.
but after the war, I didn't go back to the bank. I
You didn't go back to the bank.
No,
Yeah. And
no.
and so you the club and the night school and the work job at the bank were all those first few years. One time you told me you were teaching dance.
I did that afterwards.
That was after.
That was after.
But before the war, you were going to dances at the at the Irish American Club.
Yeah.
And did you and Mike like to dance?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
We would live for it. We were dancing when we were 16. We used to dance in Ireland and go to the dances in the houses.
Oh yeah, so not in Kenmare, like out in people's houses?
I know, yeah. She always had somebody that played the accordion and they'd dance in the kitchen. And,
sets?
On weekends and sets, yeah.
That's great.
So Michael and I used to go together.
To those?
Yeah. So they'd let us go. So.
But it was different dancing over here, was it? Or you weren't dancing sets at the Irish American Club?
No.
No.
Once in a while we danced if we get somebody to. The sets are all different in every county.
Yeah.
So that would be.
It'd be hard.
Yeah.
You'd have to get enough people from Kerry.
Yeah.
But there were a few people from Kerry.
The Malones.
The Malones.
The Longs.
Or not the Kelly, the Kellys were from somewhere else, Tom Kelly or whatever his name was.
Yeah, well, they were second generation.
They were, okay, they were over for longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They were here forever.
Yeah. What dances did you do in those at the club? Like
Siege of Business and.
Did you do American square dances?
Yes. We did. We even went over to the University of Minnesota. They used to have square dances over there, and there were all these. We were young, we didn't care, but all these older people, that was so serious. We never did go back. You wouldn't dare make a wrong turn.
You went over and tried that, you and Mike?
Yeah. I don't know whether Patman was around.
Yeah.
She may have. She got away with a lot when we were around.
I think she loved having her two Irish cousins.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
Run around town with.
Yeah.
And she had a car, did she?
At that time, she didn't. She didn't even have a license.
Oh, yeah.
Because her and I went over. She went over to take her test, and I went with her. And I hadn't. I don't think I was there a year yet. So she took the test. So I said, "I'll take it since I'm here." Well, I took the test. And I almost passed it. I just missed it by a couple. Well, so then I got the book, and I said, So I'll test. I'll read this now. I'll come back. I went back and I flunked it big time. 1 month. I was a lot closer by just guessing than I was the next one. So I took them 3 times. I've handed that in. I bought a 39 Ford, and I had that, and I had no license or nothing. So, and Alice she's the one that taught me how to drive, because it was straight stick. She said it's like an H,
Yeah.
So that's how I learned to drive this thing.
And that's before Korea too. You had the car. Oh wow.
Yeah. So I went over to get. I drove over there, over to the Midway. It was over in Pryor Avenue. They gave the tests, the driving tests.
Okay.
And I did fine. It was coming along, and I was streetcar sitting on the university.
Yeah.
Doing nothing, but he had the door open, and I went by with the door open and said, "I'm sorry, you flunked. Can't go
You can't pass a streetcar with
the
its door
door
open. Oh, that's interesting.
So I flunked that. So I got in my car, dropped him off, got in my car, drove home, waited for some other day to go back.
It was a different
Did
time.
the same thing. I went all alone.
That's so funny.
I don't know what they were doing that or not.
Yeah. Right, and then the were you drafted or did you enlist or?
No, I got
You
drafted.
got drafted, right?
I got drafted. I went in February 51.
Yeah. Did Mike go at the same time or around?
No, he went in October 50.
Oh, he was there already.
Yeah.
And there were lots. There was a lot of you from the Irish American Club that got drafted. I suppose people all over town were getting drafted, but it seemed like,
The Malones that time was.
and Marty was
Marty went later, I think.
okay.
And I don't think Mike, his brother, never got drafted.
Malone. And Dennis enlisted it.
Dennis enlisted, and Billy Capping enlisted.
Okay. Were the cappings around to the Irish American Club before Korea and everything? You knew them as well?
Yeah, because we were really good friends with Barb, Brady's sister Barb.
Okay.
She was here. As a matter of fact, she was born in St. Paul, and then she went raised in Ireland, and then she came back.
Oh, interesting.
So
Bridie's sister.
Brady's sister.
Oh.
And then her brother Pat was here, and that's before Brady.
That's Conroy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Pat Conroy.
So we were friend Barbara. She was a car. We really had a lot of fun with Barb.
Barb Conroy, yeah.
Yeah. So then she started. Oh, she was going with. She was always going with somebody that was younger than her. I see. Yeah, like she had Jerry Caulfield, and Jerry was over at St. Thomas. He was at high school or something, but I would stop over there.
Yeah.
And take him with me to, for wherever we were going. Most of the time it was probably no place, but just talking and meeting all the Brady and Maureen Long and Maureen Devady.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and his mother used to always, she'd holler at me all the time. If I'd call on the phone, she'd always holler at me because I had bad influence on her, on him. And then when I'd go and pick him up, I'd go there and stop there and pick him up, and she'd never say nothing to me. Not a thing. So he was always around with us, and with Barb and some. And she started. I don't know how she ran to Capping.
Yeah.
But he was. I think it was downtown, usher or something at the theater.
Oh, funny.
But anyway, he was. He's like 12 years younger than her.
Yeah.
And in fact, I was to 3 birthday parties for Jerry for his 18th birthday. 3 of them I was to. Every year she would have 18th birthday for Jerry. Every year.
He didn't age at all.
Yeah.
That's funny.
That was.
So then Korea, you went. Where did you do your basic training?
I went to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri.
Okay.
And then after that, you came home for a couple of weeks or whatever it was, and well, first of all, when you get drafted, they send us to Washington.
Okay.
Washington State. Out to Fort Lewis, and we went out there, and you get your uniform, and you get all this nonsense. you know, thing, and then they tell you where you're going to go and training.
Yeah.
So then you get time off, and then you come back and after the training and part anyway, then I was sent back out to San Jose again, you know, to ship out to Korea.
From St. Louis, we went to St. Louis first.
Yeah.
And
No,
then,
well,
Missouri.
Fort Leonard Road,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
And Mike was in Indiana.
Indiana.
Same
Yeah.
time. And then you both, at some point,
Well, he was
shipped over.
where his outfit went.
Okay.
His whole outfit. He was in the quartermaster
Quartermasters,
courses or what
yeah.
they were. They took care of the food and the washing and clothes and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so when they were shipped over, they were all shipped
Together. And you went more on your own?
I
or?
was on my own.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I wasn't assigned to. As a matter of fact, I had taken engineering training.
Uh-huh.
So when I got over there, I was put in the infantry. So I was.
Wow.
I survived.
Yeah, you did survive. How long were you over there?
9 months and 12 days.
Yeah.
Most of the time I spent in the front lines.
Wow.
I made sergeant though in 15 months after I'd been in service. So.
Yeah.
So I had my own platoon and my own guys to take care of me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah. And you saw Mike once over there?
Saw him once. I saw Tom alone once too.
Oh.
I went to see Tom too.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. And then it was back here. I know there's that photo of you guys when a bunch of you had returned and you had that dinner at the Red Feather Inn.
Yeah.
And that must have been pretty soon after you came back.
Yeah. When we were at Fort Leonard, Missouri, we came and took a cab to here, to Minneapolis.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Must have been an expensive cab.
I don't remember what we paid for it. I don't know. He lost his job, I guess, when he went back. The cab driver.
That's amazing. Yeah, so then you came.
Like 3 or 4 of us or something.
Wow. And then what was what were you up to here then when you came back after Korea?
I was in Camp McCoy, Wisconsin, and I was waiting to be assigned. And they were sitting around doing nothing, so they asked me to go in the office and fill out reports to discharge papers for the discharge people. Mm. So I did that for probably 3 months. My thing. So the truckload would come in. We'd be in town drunk. In town, they have to go in and get us to bring us out to get that truck. I just want these guys, you know. So most of those guys, I filled out their papers from the guys in St. Paul, you know, Malone's and the
Really?
guys from Korea. Yeah.
Wow.
So I discharged them when I was in Camp McCoy.
That's amazing.
And then when I was there waiting for either to get reassigned or discharge me. Of course, they didn't want to discharge me. They wanted me to stay, but I didn't. I was not one of my idea. So you were eventually discharged from
Camp McCoy. From Camp McCoy, it's called.
Yeah, Wisconsin. Yeah. I filled out my own papers were filled out for months. All they had to do. So.
Wow. And then it was back here.
Back then, everybody said they were all making the big money in this printing kind of thing. The Bemis bag was hiring, and it was a print shop. Well, I went there and stayed there 10 days or something, and we were working like 10 hours a day, but which was fine, except we was working with paper, and I was smoking 5 packs of cigarettes a day. So I couldn't stay there. It's either quit smoking or try to quit. So I quit. I didn't go there.
This is a print shop somewhere?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was Bemis Bag.
Okay.
I even remember the name.
Yeah, that's in Minneapolis?
Yeah.
And some of the other Irish American Club people were working there?
No, there was some of the, matter of fact, they were probably friends of Pat's.
Oh, okay.
That went in.
Okay.
I went in there, I ran into or whatever.
So you tried that for a bit and that didn't take?
I couldn't take that. Oh. So then I think I went to Pioneer Engineering. I was pricing parts. So that was more of my style to do that. So.
Yeah, and were you living in Minneapolis?
I was living at Pat's.
You moved back in at Pat's?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where I would walk from there all the way down to Central Avenue. It was like 2 miles to work in the morning and walk home at night. And then that was when Mary and I decided to take the streetcar downtown and teach at Art to Murray's at night. So you got a lot of exercise.
Yeah, so you made a little side hustle in the evenings, teaching dance?
Yeah, we go to the ice cream places and pass out our cards.
That's great. Yeah. That's fun.
Or we'd go to some bar that had music and start dancing again.
And then give them your card.
Huh?
And then give them your card.
Yeah. Yeah, we'd go.
That's great. Did you do that for long, teaching dance?
Well, Mary didn't because her Aunt Alice decided that she wasn't doing her homework and getting her schooling done, so she had to quit. I kept it up for a while. I kept it up for probably a couple of months, and then that's when we left and we went to Ireland. We were Michael and I went to Ireland, and we stayed there for 6 months or something.
Right, that's like around 53 or something, 52?
52 probably.
Yeah. You went for
Don't
that.
54. No?
Somewhere in there. You went for the summer and Pat came as well for a part of it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you think of the farm after being all around the world?
I hated it.
Yeah.
I didn't want anything to do with that thing. It was hard labor. I never forget all the hard work I did there.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Did they put you to work that summer?
Huh?
Did you work that summer when you were there?
Yeah. Well, then I didn't care. It was different then.
You knew you had a way out then.
I was ready out a long time before. Then Michael came and extended our stay again.
Oh, in Ireland?
Yeah.
You were ready to go home?
Well, yeah.
You were ready to go here, come back here, yeah.
And then we had to get a hold of Pat to get an extension on our visas because we weren't citizens.
Yeah.
We weren't citizens.
In the States?
Oh.
Yeah.
So.
Right, so you just figured that out.
So.
But then both you and Mike did come back at the end of that trip. You came back to Minnesota?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he didn't stay that long. He went to Chicago.
Right, because he moved to Chicago then.
Yeah. So,
Right. But you stayed here.
I stayed here, and I got engaged. No, I was going to school. I went to Minnesota School of Business.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, I was there for about a year. I took sales and advertising.
Yeah.
Something to do. It paid for it. Army paid for it. So.
That's great.
Then I worked at Penny's part-time, and I worked at the place with made egg cartons and different jobs, filling in.
Yeah. So you did the business school, you said, here? Yeah.
Minnesota School of Business was down in downtown Minneapolis.
And that's when you met your wife around that time? You met your wife around that time?
I met her in 54.
Yeah.
She graduated in 53 from
Yeah.
Wilmer. And then they had when the basketball schools basketball, when they play. Wilmer came down here, and I had gone to service with her cousin, and her uncle used to write to me when I was overseas. And of course, she was in high school. I didn't know her from Adam, and so he called me and wanted to know if I would go to the basketball game because they had a ticket.
Uh-huh.
And I said, no, I don't like basketball. I hate it. And I don't go, and I don't go on blind dates. I said, so he called about 4 or 5 times, and finally said, I'll do you a favor, I'll go. So I went, this stupid basketball game. I was hiding behind a post. I didn't know it. And of course, all those kids there, they're screaming, So I survived the night. And then she lived with her sister in Golden Valley, so I took her home. And then I said, I'll probably see you sometime, So probably a month or so afterwards, I called and I needed a date for something, and she was available. So
You're playing hard to get.
He said, yes. No intentions of getting. I was still in school, but then as soon as I got engaged, I quit the school and went down and looked for a job.
Yeah.
And I went to this tool place and they hired me as a timekeeper.
Okay.
So the day that I went in there, right with me goes Internal Revenue to shut the place down.
Oh wow.
So it was my first day.
Yeah.
So they actually asked me to stay on. I was there for 2 months probably, and I worked with an accountant he was from Wisconsin.
Okay.
And I was doing cost accounting, which I had never heard of it. I had never heard of it in my whole life.
Yeah.
So to figure out how much these items cost them, and how much they were charging, Anyway, I stayed there until went 7 days a week.
Yeah.
As a new employee, and then
Wow.
in the meantime, I had applied at Scott Atwater Outboard Motors for a job, and I got hired. So I left there Sunday, and I started on Monday at Scott Atwater.
At the different place. Yeah.
So I had applied for a job at the insurance company in Minneapolis, and I had an interview, and then after a week afterwards, I had another interview, and then I asked the guy, I said, the last time I was in there, and I said, what's my chances of getting the job? And he said, it's between you and the school teacher. And I thought, well, give it to the school teacher. I'm nothing. I can't do nothing. So I got the job. 33 years there.
Wow, amazing.
So, but I got to do everything. Just everything that I always wanted to do.
That's great. What was the name of the company again?
Maryland Casualty Company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. 19 years in Minneapolis and 14 in Milwaukee.
Oh, so that's the job that brought you to Milwaukee, right?
Yeah, transferred me there.
Yeah. But you were and you did, when you had your young family, were you guys living in Minneapolis then too, or?
Yeah, we lived in northeast Minneapolis.
Yeah. Not too far from where Pat's
Not too
family
far.
house was.
No, not too far.
Yeah.
Yeah. But we were there until we rented in Quincy, and I bought an old house in 19th and Washington, and then I sold that and bought the one in Columbia Heights in 1960.
Mm.
So that was weird.
Were you still going to any Irish American club stuff in those years, or not as much?
We'd go to St. Patrick's Day or something.
Yeah, mostly that.
Yeah, we'd go to Jack's first, and he always got all those green things and all this.
What was Jack's? What's Jack's?
Jack's Cafe. It's still there.
Where's that at?
It's on University Avenue in 20th.
Ah.
Yeah.
Do I know where that is? Oh,
We used to go there. Pat and I used to go there on Friday nights. Aunt Alice, she would give us money and tell us to go there. I don't feel like cooking tonight, and she'd give us money to go.
Yeah.
Pat and I.
When you were first over, even,
When
50s,
I was
50s.
with Pat, when I was living at Pat's
Yeah.
place, so I was very familiar with Jack's.
So that was the St. Patrick's Day thing. You'd stop there,
Yeah,
and then where would you go?
go to St. Paul to the dance.
To wherever the dance was.
Yeah.
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 Like, and the dances, if I remember right, sometimes they were at that Ramaley Hall on
Yeah.
Grand, or they were
Yeah.
at different places.
Yeah.
Sometimes they were at the
We went
place
to-
in
we went to-
Frogtown.
Yeah, they went. We went to Mendota Heights.
Mendota Heights, yeah.
Yeah, and there was one on Lake Street.
Yeah.
We used to go to. We went to a lot of them.
That's fun.
Yeah.
That's fun. Do you remember Marty playing accordion in those years?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marty and I hung around for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you remember those guys he would play with, the Mikes, Mike McGivney and Mike Nash and Mike Hughes? They were older guys, weren't they?
Yeah, they were all over. Yeah.
Yes. And Patty Hill.
Mm-hmm.
They were all older guys, I think.
Yeah.
They were like the earlier generation.
Yeah, Marty and I were good friends for many years.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
He was a friend to many.
Yes.
So then the job brought you to Milwaukee, and that was...
I started out in Minneapolis, and we had like 40-some employees, and at that time I did the payroll.
Sure.
I did the accounting, and I did the collections, and I did office management, and I was the supervisor. I was in supervision all my life.
Mm-hmm.
All my life.
And now look at you, you're unsupervised.
I know. It's true. That is true. So then, of course, eventually, they finally took the payroll away, which was fine. But I just have to do the payroll, and I'd have to do the checks, and my typing, as I told you, I'm not a good typist.
Yeah.
But and I had to do it 2 fingers. I didn't want to waste the checks. My boss was Jewish,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want him to. Like the bills and stuff at that time, you always have bills and you get 2% off your payment, and you had to make sure that those 2% was off of there before he would approve the bills, and then I would make out the checks, and I had to sign all the checks, and a lot of fun. It was great. I loved it.
Did you like Milwaukee?
I did. I like Milwaukee. Mary didn't, but I did.
Yeah. Where'd you live in Milwaukee? What part of
We
town?
lived in Port Washington.
Okay.
It's 30 miles north of Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Yeah. We live right on the Lake Michigan.
That's great.
You could see see the lake from my bedroom window.
And you said a couple of your kids were old enough that they never lived there. They stayed in Minnesota.
Yeah, there's 3 of them there.
3 of them.
Yeah, Kathy, Patrick, and Michael. Yeah.
Right. And you had 7 kids total, so there were 4 with you.
Yeah.
When you moved to Milwaukee.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you were there for how long?
14 years.
14 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then back here.
Came back here again.
Back to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Were you still working when you came back here, or did you retire?
No, I retired.
That's nice.
I retired. I did go back to my old stomping ground. I worked for about 5 years for Marquette Bank, which was pole lads,
Yeah.
bank, and for part-time, like 20 hours a week or something. But I worked there for like 5 years.
Yeah.
So then they said that we had to start or something on Mondays at 4 o'clock in the morning, and I said, no, thanks. So
That doesn't sound like retirement.
Then I had left and I was going to Ireland anyway.
Did you go to Ireland much in your
After I retired, I probably went 5 times.
Okay.
I went quite a few times.
Yeah.
But and then what's I going to say? But I worked at Northeast Bank down on Broadway.
After moving back.
Northeast Bank. After that too. That was the last one I worked there. I worked there almost 5 years too.
Yeah. What did you do? When you would go to Ireland, did you visit family and stuff? Do you still keep in touch with any family over there? Or?
Yeah, well, the first time I went back after I retired was my folks were still living.
Oh yeah. Well.
And then my uncles and aunts and stuff. So we got to see those, and Mary got to visit with them.
Sure. Did Mary have Irish heritage herself at all?
Huh?
Was Mary Irish?
She was half.
Half, yeah.
Yeah, her mother was Irish. Her dad was German.
Right.
Clucas.
Right.
So. Yeah,
that's fun.
So yeah, and then I went back with Dan, my youngest son.
Sure.
He paid for me by way. He said, I always wanted to take you to Ireland, so I went with him and his wife.
Yeah.
And the last time we were, Kathy and Colleen and Colleen's husband now, but he was boyfriend then, went with us too at one time. Mm-hmm. So all my kids have been there except Michael. Mm. So the last time it was Maureen and Patrick and Jim and I went last time.
Mm-hmm. And it was just you, for your family, it was just you and your brother that came to the United States, or did other siblings come?
They did. Yeah, they changed that you didn't have to sponsor people.
They changed the rules. That's
the
right.
rules.
Yeah.
So I brought Jeremiah, my brother, over here.
Oh.
And Michael brought my sister Joan. And they were in Minneapolis for a while, but they moved to Chicago.
Oh, okay.
And then John came into Chicago, and Brendan came in Chicago, and Bridie came to Chicago.
Oh, so a lot of your family came over eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting.
So there's and the 2 youngest are still in England.
Oh.
Sheila and Stephen.
Okay.
So. And Gerald is in Ireland. He was here. He came here to visit me last month.
Oh, wow.
him and his wife and son.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Did you ever go over to England and see the ones in England, or?
Well, we actually did.
Yeah.
We did when Colleen and Kathy and Jim Martis was with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we went over there. We stayed there. Stayed with him one night, I guess.
Well, there's so many people that moved away in those years after World War II. It seems,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and then.
Well, they never used to go back home at all. You know,
Right.
like Pat's dad never went back,
Wow.
and Jeff had gone back a couple of times.
Your Uncle Jeff.
Yeah, he went back a couple of times.
Yeah, but
Mary was back.
Yeah.
She went back once, I think, after I was here.
Mm-hmm.
She said, "Well, I hate it."
And that they probably came over like before the Depression even. Did they come in the 20s or something?
I would imagine, yeah.
Long time.
And they all came to St. Paul.
Okay.
Over the Doyles.
What's the deal with the Doyles?
It was it would be their aunt and uncle, I think.
Oh, that was kind of the first.
That's where they all came. All the Shays and everybody came. That's where they were over in St. Paul.
Oh, and the Doyles. That was a family,
yeah, John Doyle and
And they had come from Kenmare or somewhere in Kerry.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. I'd never heard that before.
Yeah.
That kind of got
Pat would know more about them.
That kind of got the whole thing started.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I knew John Doyle because we used to visit him because I was at Pat, because they would go to visit him.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And there was a couple of them over there. I remember many were old.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for all the stories.
Yeah.
It's been fun to learn so much about it, and the Irish American Club story is great story.
Yeah.
Those days.
Yeah. So I sort of lost them when I went to Wisconsin, you know.
I bet you lost touch with the whole
But
thing.
they didn't last long after that.
It seems like they really kind of. I mean, Pat and Brady and Mary, we're saying that like people just had families, you know, they got too busy.
Right.
People stopped showing up at the dances.
Right. Yeah. So that was too bad.
Yeah, but see, you know, I think that happens again
yeah.
and again with clubs and things.
Yeah.
It served the purpose for the time, right? You know?
Yeah, and Jerry Capping, they moved to Janesville, Wisconsin.
Okay.
And then they went to Arizona, you know, they went to...
Right, was he part of that thing with George O'Leary and all the people that went to...
Yeah.
They all went to Arizona?
Yeah. Yeah, except Barb. Barb and the kids stayed in Janesville, Wisconsin.
Mm.
While he was down making money.
Yeah, right. Digging wells or something?
A lot of it.
Yeah.
You know, they built all those houses.
Yeah.
And then they buy property and build houses.
Yeah, it sounded like, they were doing something with mobile homes or
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, made a lot of money, I guess.
Yeah, I heard that George O'Leary just passed away. So
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I hadn't seen him in years. He was kind of a jerk at
That's
the
what
end,
people
I
said.
heard. Yeah. He was all right when I knew him.
Yeah.
I guess the money went to his head.
Yeah.
You know, I would think, you know, I think Jerry was the smart one in that bunch.
To get out of that thing.
But yeah,
Wow.
smart. It was smart anyway, as far as
Sure.
he was no dummy. And I think Billy, Bridie's husband, had money in that operation. You know, so I think she's pretty well off too.
Because yeah, it sounds like it was a big moneymaker.
Yeah,
That whole thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Barb was driving a Cadillac. You know, just amazing at her age that she even learned to drive.
Oh,
You know, she was old. You know, not before.
yeah.
You know, but
This is the same Barb that was
Barb camping. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a-
yeah. She,
fun when you guys were young.
yeah, she was a great person. Funny girl.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I won't keep you all day here, but I really appreciate the chat, Con. Thanks.
Sorry on my cough, my
Oh, you're okay. Don't worry about it.
Want a beer?